Now listen, friends, there comes a time in every person's life when everything seems to be going against you. The sky darkens, the wind howls, and the road ahead is shrouded in uncertainty. You may have seen this storm coming, or maybe it crashed upon you without warning, leaving you disoriented and overwhelmed. Perhaps it's a failed relationship, a job slipping through your fingers, a dream that has crumbled before your eyes, or even a deep loneliness that refuses to lift. Whatever form it takes, the feeling is the same. A sense that nothing is going your way, that the pieces of your life are scattered, and that no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to get back on course. This is not a new experience. It is as old as humanity itself. Think of Job, who lost everything, his wealth, his family, his health, and yet, in the midst of his suffering, he did not curse God, but cried out in faith, demanding an answer. Or consider the disciples in the boat, battered by a storm so fierce that they feared for their lives, only to see Jesus walking on the water, calming the sea with a single word. Even Peter, bold in his faith, stepped out onto the waves, only to begin sinking when doubt overtook him. These are not just ancient stories. They are reflections of our own struggles, our own moments of despair when we feel like we are drowning in the chaos of life. And yet, here is the most important truth. When nothing is going your way, that is precisely when God is at work in the deepest, most transformative ways. He does not promise a life free of hardship. In fact, He tells us that we will face trials, but He also promises that He will never abandon us, that He is present even in the fiercest storm, walking with us on the water, offering His hand when we begin to sink. The challenge, my friends, is not to escape the storm, but to learn how to navigate it with faith, to trust that even in the darkest moments, God is shaping something greater in us. So, if you find yourself in the middle of such a storm, if nothing seems to be going your way, do not lose heart. This is not the end of your story. It is, in fact, the very moment when God is drawing near, inviting you to see beyond the chaos and into the deeper reality of His presence and His purpose for your life. Let me tell you, friends, there is nothing more frustrating, more soul-draining than when you feel like you're doing everything right and still nothing changes. You've prayed, you've worked, you've fought to stay positive, and yet the door remains shut. The burden remains heavy, and the future remains unclear. You've been faithful, you've trusted, and still, it feels like you're standing in place while everyone else moves forward. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt like that? When was the last time you cried out in frustration, wondering if God was listening, if He was even there? Now I want you to picture Peter in that boat during that storm. The waves crashing, the wind howling, and then what does he see? He takes that first step, and for a moment, he is doing the impossible. He is walking where no man has walked before. But then, what happens? His eyes shift from Jesus to the storm. The wind becomes louder than the voice of the Master. The waves become more real than the presence of the Savior. And what does Peter do? He begins to sink. Does that not sound familiar? How many times have we taken steps of faith only to be overwhelmed by the very things we were trying to overcome? How many times Have we seen a glimmer of hope, only for our hearts to be crushed by the weight of disappointment? We believe, we take action, we walk forward, but then... Friends, this is one of the most painful experiences of the spiritual life. It's not just that we suffer, it's that we suffer after believing, after trusting, after stepping out in faith. It feels like betrayal. It feels like abandonment. And yet, this is exactly where God meets us. Because Jesus did not scold Peter for sinking. He didn't say, "You should have known better." No, he reached out his hand and said, "You of little faith, why did you doubt?" That question is not condemnation, it is invitation. It is an invitation to lift our eyes once more, to fix our gaze on the one who walks on water, to remember that he is not surprised by our struggles, nor is he distant from them. So many of us are like Peter. We want to believe, but we are afraid. We want to trust, but we are overwhelmed. We want to walk on water, but we keep looking at the storm. And in that moment, we begin to sink, not because we are caused, but because we have temporarily forgotten the one who called us out of the boat in the first place. I want you to hear this. When nothing seems to be going your way, when you feel like you are sinking, when you cry out, "Lord, save me," He is already reaching for you. He is not waiting for you to get it right. He is not standing on the shore watching you struggle. He is there in the storm, in the chaos, in the pain, extending His hand. And the question is not whether He will save you or reach back. So if you are in that boat today, if you have stepped out in faith and now you are sinking, do not despair. You do not give in to the lie that God has abandoned you. He is right there with you, calling you to lift your eyes once more, to fix your gaze on Him, and to trust that even in the midst of the storm, He's working all things together for your good. Now, let me speak plainly. When nothing seems to be going your way, when the path ahead is shrouded in darkness and confusion, you must not lose sight of this fundamental truth. God is still at work. He is not surprised by your suffering. He is not indifferent to your struggles. He is not asleep at the wheel. No, He is actively shaping you, refining you, preparing you for something far greater than you can see in this moment. And the key, yes, the key to navigating this season is recognizing that God is not merely with you in the storm. He is using the storm to bring about His purposes in your life. Let me remind you of a story, one that is echoed through the ages. Joseph, the son of Jacob, was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. Nothing seemed to be going his way. Every door was slammed shut. Every effort he made to do the right thing led only to more suffering. And yet, what did God do? He was not absent from Joseph's pain. He was not indifferent to his cries. No, He was preparing him. He was positioning him. And in time, Joseph rose from the depths of prison to the heights of power, second only to Pharaoh himself. And when Joseph looked back, he could see it clearly. He had been placed in Egypt not in spite of his suffering, but through it. He had been placed in Egypt not in spite of his suffering, but through it. God had sent him there to save many lives, including the very brothers who had betrayed him. Friends, that is the pattern of God's work in our lives. He does not promise that the road will be smooth, but He does promise that nothing will be wasted. Every tear, every failure, every heartbreak, every moment of despair is being woven into something greater. You may not see it now, you may not understand it now, but trust me when I say this, God is not finished with you. He is shaping you, molding you, refining you through the very trials that seem to be crushing you. Think of the Exodus. The people of Israel had been delivered from slavery in Egypt. led by Moses with miraculous signs and wonders. They had seen the Red Sea part, had walked on dry ground, had been sustained by manna from heaven, and yet, when they faced difficulties in the wilderness, what did they do? They grumbled, they doubted, they longed to return to Egypt. They saw only the hardships before them and forgot the miracles that had already been done. But God did not abandon them. He did not say, "If you cannot trust me, I will leave you to your own devices." No, He remained faithful. He continued to guide them, to provide for them, to prepare them for the promised land. So it is with you. When you are in the wilderness of your own life, when nothing seems to be going your way, do not lose sight of what God has already done. Do not forget His faithfulness. Do not allow the hardships of the moment to erase the memories of His past deliverance. Because if He brought you through yesterday's storm, He will bring you through today's as well. And more than that, He is preparing you for something greater. He is shaping your character, strengthening your resolve, teaching you to trust Him in ways you never had to before. And let me tell you, this is not just about endurance. It is about transformation. God does not merely want to get you through the storm. He wants to change you in the process. He wants to strip away the things that hold you back, the things that distract you, the things that keep you from fully surrendering to His will. He wants to refine your heart, to deepen your faith, to make you more like Christ. Because that is the ultimate goal, not just to escape suffering, but to become the kind of person who can carry His love into the world. So, my friends, when nothing seems to be going your way, do not despair. Do not give in to the lie that God has abandoned you. He is with you. He is working in you. He is preparing you for something beyond what you can see right now. And when you look back, years from now, you will see it clearly. You will see how He used every broken piece, how He turned every setback into a stepping stone, how He orchestrated every moment for your good and for His glory. So keep going, keep trusting, keep your eyes fixed on the one who walks on water, because He is not finished with you yet. Now, friends, let me speak plainly. When nothing seems to be going your way, the hardest thing in the world is to surrender. Oh, we like to talk about surrendering in theory, but when it comes down to it, we want to be in control. We want to chart our own course, to fix the problem, to make things right. And when we can't, we fight harder. We double down. We try again. We convince ourselves that if we just work harder, if we just believe more strongly, if we just push forward with enough determination, we can force things to change. But here's the truth. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is not trying harder. It is letting go. Let me tell you something about the people of Israel in the wilderness. They had been delivered from Egypt with mighty miracles, plagues, the parting of the Red Sea, manna from heaven. And yet, when they faced hardship, they did not surrender to God's wisdom. Instead, they grumbled, they questioned, they wanted to turn back, they tried to take control, they made idols out of gold, they sought shortcuts, and what was the result? They wandered for 40 years. Not because God was punishing them, but because they were not ready to trust. They were not ready to surrender. And so it is with us. When we are in the wilderness, when the path is unclear, when the burden is heavy, when everything seems to be going against us, we have a choice. We can either fight to control what is beyond our grasp, or we can surrender to the one who holds all things in his hands. We can either cling to our own plans, our own expectations, our own desperate attempts to fix what is broken, or we can let go and trust that God knows the way forward. But surrender is not easy. Surrender demands humility. It requires us to acknowledge that we do not have all the answers, that our strength is limited, that our wisdom is flawed. Surrender means admitting that we cannot do this on our own, that we need God more than we need our own strategies, our own solutions, our own stubborn determination. And that, my friends, is a hard thing to accept. Yet, when we surrender, when we finally release our grip and say, "Lord, I give this to you," something remarkable happens. The burden does not disappear, but we are no longer carrying it alone. The path does not instantly clear, but we are no longer walking it blindly. The storm does not immediately calm, but we are no longer tossed about by fear, because in surrender we find peace. In surrender we find clarity. In surrender we find strength, not our own, but the strength that comes from trusting in the one who is sovereign over all things. So if you are in a place where nothing seems to be going your way, I urge you, stop fighting so hard. Stop trying to force things to work out on your own terms. Stop clinging to what you think should be, and open your hands to what God is doing. Surrender is not defeat, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that God sees what you cannot see, that He knows what you do not know, that He is leading you somewhere even when you cannot see the path. And let me tell you this, when you surrender, when you finally let go, you will find that God is not asking you to give up on your dreams. He is not asking you to stop hoping. He is not asking you to abandon your vision. No, He is simply asking you to trust Him with it, to allow Him to shape it, to refine it, to fulfill it in His time and in His way. Because when we surrender, we are not giving up. We are stepping into something far greater than we could ever achieve on our own. Now, friends, let's be honest. When nothing seems to be going your way, doubt creeps in. Fear whispers in your ear. You begin to question everything. Did I make the right decision? Is God really with me? Does He even care? These thoughts are relentless. They gnaw at your confidence, cloud your mind, and leave you feeling like you're standing on unstable ground. And if you're not careful, that doubt can become a prison. It can trap you in a cycle of second guessing, of questioning your faith, of wondering if you've been chasing after something that was never meant to be. Let me remind you of Thomas. You know the story? Jesus appears to the disciples, but Thomas is not there. When they tell him, "We have seen the Lord," what does Thomas say? "Unless I see the nail marks in His hands and put my finger where the nails were and put my hand into His side, I will not believe." He is not being malicious. He is being honest. And what does Jesus do? Does He rebuke him? Does He condemn him? No. He appears again, this time with Thomas present, and He invites him to touch his wounds. He does not scold him for his hesitation. He does not demand unquestioning faith. Instead, He meets him in his doubt and says, "Put your finger here. See my hands Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe." And Thomas responds with one of the most powerful confessions in all of Scripture, "My Lord and my God." His doubt did not disqualify him from encountering Christ. It deepened his faith, because when he finally saw the risen Lord, he did not just believe in a concept, he believed in a living, resurrected Savior who met him in his uncertainty. Friends, doubt is not the enemy of faith, it is part of the journey. Every believer at some point wrestles with uncertainty. Even the great saints, Peter, Paul, Augustine, Aquinas, struggled with questions. That does not mean they lacked faith, it means they were human. And God does not demand blind acceptance. He invites us to bring our doubts to Him, to wrestle with Him, to seek Him, even when we do not understand. Because when we do, He meets us. He does not leave us in the darkness. He walks with us through it. And yet, fear is another matter. Fear is the voice that tells you, you are not enough, you have failed, there is no hope. Fear tries to convince you that you are alone, that God has abandoned you, that the storm will never pass. But let me tell you this, fear is a liar. It distorts reality, it magnifies the worst possibilities, and minimizes God's faithfulness. It keeps you trapped in what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, robbing you of peace and preventing you from moving forward. So what do we do with fear? We bring it to Christ. We do not pretend it does not exist. We do not try to suppress it. We acknowledge it, name it, and then we turn to the one who calms storms and raises the dead. Because here is the truth. God does not ask us to be fearless. He asks us to trust Him in the midst of our fear. He does not expect us to have all the answers. He expects us to keep walking, even when we cannot see the road ahead, when we cannot see the way ahead. So if you are in a place of doubt, if you are afraid, do not let that paralyze you. Bring it to the Lord. Ask Him to meet you in your uncertainty. Let Him speak to your heart. And when He does, when He reminds you of His love, His faithfulness, His presence, let that be the foundation upon which you stand. Because faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to trust in spite of it. Now, friends, let me speak to something that cuts to the heart of our struggles. Our suffering is not meaningless. When nothing seems to be going your way, when you feel like you are trapped in a cycle of disappointment and setbacks, it is easy to believe that God has forgotten you. It is easy to think that your pain has no purpose, that your struggles are simply obstacles to be endured, rather than something God can use for a greater good. But I want to tell you something that may shake the way you see your suffering. God does not waste pain. He does not allow hardship to come upon you without purpose. No, He takes even the most broken pieces of your life and weaves them into something beautiful. Let me remind you of Joseph once more. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and cast into prison. His life was filled with injustice, with suffering that seemed pointless. If you had told Joseph in those dark prison days that God was using his suffering to prepare him for greatness, he probably would not have believed you. And yet, years later, when he stood before his brothers as the second most powerful man in Egypt, he saw it clearly. He said, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." That is the key. Joseph's suffering was not wasted. God used it. He took the very things that were meant for harm and turned them into instruments of salvation. And that is exactly what God does in our lives. He does not promise that we will not suffer. He does not shield us from pain. But He does promise that nothing will be wasted. Every tear, every failure, every heartbreak, every disappointment is being used by Him for a greater purpose. Now, that does not mean suffering is easy. It does not mean that pain does not hurt. But it does mean that God is not indifferent to your struggles. He is not distant from your pain. He is in the midst of it, working, shaping, preparing, redeeming. Think of the cross, the most brutal execution in history, the suffering of the innocent, the death of the Son of God seemed like the ultimate defeat. To those who watched Jesus hanging on the cross, it looked like evil had won. But we know the truth. What appeared to be the end was actually the beginning of redemption. The cross, the instrument of death, became the gateway to life. The very thing that was meant to destroy became the means of salvation. That is the pattern of God's work. He takes what is broken and makes it whole. He takes what is lost and restores it. He takes what seems like failure and turns it into victory. And He does this not in spite of suffering, but through it. So, my friends, when you are in the middle of your own storm, when nothing seems to be going your way, do not believe the lie that your suffering is pointless. Do not fall into the trap of thinking that God has abandoned you. He is with you. He is working. He is preparing something greater than you can see right now. And let me tell you this, when God uses your suffering, He does not just use it for your own growth. He uses it to bless others. Just as Joseph's suffering saved many lives, just as Christ's suffering brought salvation to the world, your struggles can become a source of strength, of comfort, of hope for those around you. You may not see it now, but one day you will look back and see how God used your pain to minister to someone else, how your journey became a testimony, how your brokenness became a vessel for His healing. So if you are in the middle of your own wilderness, if you are walking through a season where nothing seems to be going your way, do not lose heart. Do not believe that your suffering is meaningless. Trust that God is at work, that He is shaping you, preparing you, using you in ways you cannot yet see. Because just as He raised Joseph from the prison to the palace, just as He raised Christ from the grave to glory, He will raise you. He will redeem your pain. He will bring purpose from your suffering. And in the end, you will see it clearly. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was in vain. And everything was being used for a greater good. Now, friends, let's talk about surrender. Not as defeat, not as weakness, but as the most powerful act of faith. You see, surrender is not giving up. Surrender is not throwing your hands in the air and saying, I can't do this anymore. No, surrender is laying your burdens at the feet of the one who can. It is releasing your grip on control and placing your trust in the hands of the Almighty. Surrender is the moment when you stop fighting the current and begin to swim with the tide of God's purpose. And make no mistake, surrender is hard. It goes against everything our culture teaches us. We are told to be strong, to take charge, to push forward no matter what. We are conditioned to believe that success comes through our own effort. That if we just work harder, if we just believe more, if we just refuse to give in, we can overcome anything. And yes, perseverance is important. Yes, faith requires action. But there comes a point when we must recognize our limits. There comes a moment when we must admit that we cannot do this on our own. And that, my friends, let me tell you about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. He knew what was coming. He knew the betrayal, the mockery, the cross. And in that moment, what did he do? Did he fight? Did he demand that God change the course of history? No, he prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." That is surrender. That is the fullness of faith. Jesus was not resigned to suffering. He was not simply accepting his fate. He was choosing to trust the Father's plan, even when it led through the valley of darkness. And that is the essence of surrender. It is choosing to trust even when you do not understand. It is choosing to believe that God sees what you cannot see, that He knows what you do not know, that He is leading you towards something greater than you can imagine. Surrender is not about having all the answers. It is about trusting the one who does. But here is the beauty of it. When you surrender, you are not left empty-handed. You are not abandoned in your weakness. No, you are filled with something far greater than your own strength. You are filled with the presence of God. You are given peace that passes understanding. You are given clarity in the midst of confusion. You are given rest in the midst of the storm. Because surrender does not mean you stop moving forward. It means you move forward differently. You move forward with trust. You move forward with confidence. You move forward knowing that you are not alone. So, if you are in a place where nothing seems to be going your way, I urge you, surrender. Surrender your plans, surrender your expectations, surrender your fears, surrender your need for control. Let go of the illusion that you must fix everything yourself. Give it to the Lord, lay it at His feet, and then watch what He does. Because when you surrender, you open the door for God to work in ways you never thought possible. And let me tell you this, surrender is not a one-time event. It is a daily choice. Some days you will surrender with ease. Some days it will feel like pulling teeth. But every time you do it, you grow stronger in your faith. Every time you surrender, you learn to trust a little more. Every time you release your grip, you find that God's hold on you is even tighter. So friends, if you are weary, if you are tired of fighting battles that never seem to end, take heart. Surrender is not weakness. It is not defeat. It is the most courageous act of faith you can make. And when you surrender, when you finally let go, you will find that God is not asking you to give up on your dreams. He is simply asking you to trust Him with them. Because when you surrender, you are not losing control. You are stepping into the arms of the one who holds all things together. And that, my friends, is where true freedom begins. So, friends, let me leave you with this. When nothing seems to be going your way, when the road ahead is uncertain, when you feel like you are sinking in the chaos of life, do not turn away. Do not give in to the lie that God has abandoned you. No, fix your eyes on the one who walks on water, who stills the storm with a word, who reaches out his hand when you begin to doubt. Because here is the truth: the very one who called you out of the boat is still with you, still guiding you, still shaping you through every trial. I know how hard it is to hold on when everything feels like it is slipping away. I know what it is like to cry out in the darkness, to wonder if your prayers are reaching heaven, to feel like you are shouting into silence. But I also know this: God is not silent. He is not indifferent. He is not distant. He is near. He is working. He is refining you, strengthening you, preparing you for something greater than you can see in this moment. And when you look back, years from now, you will see it clearly. You will see how he used every broken piece, how he turned every step back into a stepping stone, how he orchestrated every moment for your good and for his glory. So keep going. Keep trusting, keep surrendering, let go of the need to control everything. Release your grip on what you cannot hold and place your confidence in the one who holds all things together. Because surrender is not defeat, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that you do not have to carry this burden alone, that you do not have to figure it all out on your own. God is with you. He is for you. He is leading you forward even when the path is unclear. And let me tell you this: your struggles, your pain, your disappointments, they are not wasted. God is taking every tear, every heartbreak, every failure, and weaving them into something beautiful. Just as he raised Joseph from the prison to the palace, just as he raised Christ from the grave to glory, he will raise you. He will redeem your pain. He will bring purpose from your suffering. And in the end, you will see it all clearly. Nothing was wasted, nothing was in vain, and everything was being used for a greater good. So my friends, do not lose heart. Do not give in to fear. Do not let doubt steal your hope. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. Walk forward in faith, even when you cannot see the road ahead. Surrender your plans, your fears, your frustrations to the Lord, and trust that He is with you in the storm, guiding you, shaping you, preparing you for the life He has called you to. Because here is the promise: when you walk with God, when you trust in His plan, when you surrender your life to His leading, you will never walk alone. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. And no matter how dark the night, no matter how fierce the storm, He will bring you through. He will bring you to the other side. And when you arrive, you will see it clearly. He was with you all along. So take heart, my friends. Keep going. Keep believing. Keep surrendering. Because you are not alone. God is with you. And He is not finished with you yet.